Hello everyone, Nadeem Azhar. We are going to get started at 12:30 Central. I'm a few minutes early and I wanted to come in a little early, talk a little bit about some of the feedback I've been getting from people. And sometimes, especially when you're starting out, it's not easy to quieten the mind. The mind is always racing. I remember the first time I started just 5 minutes at night before going to bed, and it was so ridiculous. The thoughts were just racing because I wasn't used to it, and I came so close to giving up because I was like, oh, this is never going to quieten down. The mind's going 100 miles an hour, and a lot of the thoughts that were coming up, they had a sense of urgency, like, oh, I need to do this, I better not forget about this, I need to remember to do this. And all these things were happening, but I stuck with it because it was a commitment that I made to somebody and myself that I was going to try it for 30 days. And pretty soon, these thoughts started to quieten down. Now, they will not go away altogether. Sometimes when you're under a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of deadlines, some of these thoughts will come up again. But what I do is sit with that thought, and slowly that thought will just dissipate. It's amazing, really. You think that if you were trying to think about the thought that's in your head, that you would go deeper into it. But it's the opposite. You sit with the thought and it dissipates and disappears. And then slowly, as your practice builds, what will start to happen is you will start to identify as yourself separate from the thought. So I see it as three separate things. So one is the sensory input from the body. Right? There might be aches, pains, fatigue, tension, all of that. So there's input from that side. The other part is the thoughts. There's always these thoughts. That's the second side. And then the third side is the self. And that was the last thing that came to me, was separate from the thoughts, separate from the sensory inputs. Like, okay, the thoughts are occurring, but what is tracking these thoughts? Right? The thoughts are occurring in the mind, but what is tracking these thoughts? And that's a good way to look at it. I know a lot of people will talk about the mind, the heart, the gut. But a good way to look at it, even though everything happens in the brain, the reason why a lot of people will break it down that way is because it's easier for us to wrap our minds around that. Because these sensations, when we talk about, for example, the gut, the sensation actually appears like it is in the gut. Same thing happens with the heart. So that's don't get discouraged when you can't quieten down the mind, when the thoughts are just going so fast. Just try to sit with the thought, and I promise you, over time, you will get so good at it that you will be one, and then you will see the thoughts kind of a separate thing, and then you'll have the sensory input from the body as a separate thing, so it'll be like a three-legged stool. That's how I like to think about it. Now, to get to that level, the three-legged stool, that takes a while. I mean, it took me a good amount of time. However, once you get to that point, you will be able to meditate pretty much anywhere. And I actually, this one time I was at the airport, I was waiting for a flight, and it was my midday reset time, and I was like, I just got to do my reset. Like, I just had so much stuff going on in my life. I was like, I got to do my reset. So I was like, well, if people think I'm dead, they'll just come tap on my shoulder, I guess. So I just closed my eyes. This was like a crowded airport, and I just did my reset. Nobody bothered, nobody cared. But I just felt so calm. I was so aware of these things. So when I first went in, I was so aware of everything that was happening. The guy here sitting, the kids over there playing. I mean, everything I was so aware of. But as I sat with it, slowly I went inwards, and this stuff that was happening around me just started to dissipate. And now I can do it anywhere. But a thought occurred to me a few days ago, which was, if you are starting out and you are at an airport or someplace, one of the places that might be a good place to meditate, I haven't tried it, but if you try it, let me know, is prayer rooms. So I've noticed on airports they have these prayer rooms. I've never been in one, but maybe somebody can try it. But I'm thinking that would be a good place to just sit down and meditate. I'm going to try that maybe next time I'm at an airport. So I wanted to get started a little bit early, give people a little bit of background, how I started. I've been doing this now for about maybe 2 years, a little more than 2 years. And even now, some days are good. Some days the session just feels shallow. It will feel shallow, but a lot of stuff will come up. And it's not things that your conscious mind is thinking about. It's stuff that just bubbles up, I guess, from the subconscious. I'm no specialist at this. I'm not a neurosurgeon or anything, neuropsychologist or whatever you call them. But this stuff will kind of bubble up from the subconscious. And I'm going to give you an example. So normally when I'm going into a session, when it's very hard for me to, get in that zone, I will start to think of something like, I love me, or I take care of me, I'm kind to me. I'll use these affirmations just to kind of go inwards. And just the other day, I was doing, I was doing my joy alarm. I do this thing, I call it the joy alarm. I'll go into the details later, but I was doing my joy alarm, and all of a sudden, the words that came out of my mouth were not the normal words that came out. The word that came out was just simple, and I was just amazed at how simple it was, but how much effect it had. It was just, life loves me. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it came, but when that sentence came out, it just had such a big effect on me. Like my chest, my heart space, I just felt that. You know how sometimes you feel this chill, it's really strong. I just felt that chill. And this is when I was like in the middle of my joy alarm. And so then I carried that into after the joy alarm, I do a chest expander. So I carried that into the chest expander, and then I sat down for my meditation, and I carried it in my meditation. And that simple sentence was just so powerful for me. But it may not be powerful the next time, right? Sometimes we have a tendency to try to stick with something that works, but sometimes it's just better to let things come up on their own. And that's the whole thing, is we want to be connected to our true selves, and that's what meditation is about. But I'm going a little bit deeper into that. Today we're not going to do anything that is at that level. All we're going to do today is a midday reset. Real simple stuff, and I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to do it with you, but since I'll be talking as well, I probably will not be in as deep of a state as I am normally when I do it myself, because I'm just, in it. But I'm going to be talking to you. I'm going to tell you stuff that's going on the inside, and that's the hardest part. Is, if everybody's in a session meditating, you don't know what's going on and on the inside, right? So I'm going to try to say that what's happening. And today is an odd day, so we will be just doing what I call the Joe Dispenza style session, but it has nothing to do with Joe Dispenza. I just call it that because it's just sitting, it's just going in, it's just connecting on the inside, and there is no mantra that's going on in my head during this session. There is no, so hum, there is no humming sound, there's none of that. You're just gonna see me sitting here, just going on the inside and letting whatever comes up come up. And there's gonna be thoughts that come up, and I'm just gonna try to sit with the thought and let it dissipate. One of the things that I thought about one time was, meditation is not about whether you have a clear, like a mind without thought. Meditation is about the repetition of how fast you can get back to just yourself. So thoughts are going to come, but how fast can you identify that's a thought and then move back to the inside, right? So that's an interesting way to put it, but don't try to measure it, because that is a different part of you when you try to measure. And I have a very strong part that's like that, where I call it the performer, and a good coach once identified this, and that performer is always, that's like the driver, the pusher in me. That's probably the one who pushed me to move across continents, pushed me to set up businesses, pushed me to do all of these things, and it has served me well. But it's a younger self, and it's time for me to be in the driver's seat. So you might have somebody that just wants to make sure that the meditation session is perfect, like we're going to have no thoughts. Don't stress yourself out. It's not about that. It's just the rep. You're going to have thoughts. Just come back. That's all it is. And we have 1 minute to go. And if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook. So I broadcast this and post this on different places. So it's on Facebook, it's on, I think, YouTube and a few other places. But or my website is nadeemazhar.com. You can just go to my website and you can connect with me from there. And so the name is, I'm going to put the name on the screen so you can see it. So nadeemazhar.com. So just go to that, and you can send me a message. And I try to respond to everybody, but sometimes things get missed. It happens. Okay, so it is 12:30. We should be starting now. I'm going to set up so I normally set up my timer for 15 minutes. We're going to start. I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to drop in. And then after 15 minutes, I'm going to do a quick exit, because then I do like a 3-minute reflection and then a 5-minute mirror session, which is a separate deal, which we can talk about later. But let's get started. So here we go. And if you have an Apple Watch, you can already preset your timer so they're right there. So I'm just going to hit the 15 and we're going to get started. So the first thing that I like to do is to drop in, to get into that state, is start with deep breaths. Now you can do a single breath or you can do double breath. Now these are not your ordinary breaths, because normally when we breathe, for some reason we tend to breathe from the chest. We want to breathe from full body, like including the stomach. So if you're I know I do this. A lot of times my stomach is like, it's tight. It's just holding in. Release it. Just let it loose, like a baby. They don't hold their stomach in, right? Just think of it that way. So I'm going to do double breath. So the way double breath works is you take a deep breath in, and then you're full, but then you take a little sip extra. That is to expand the lungs that much more. We're going to hold it, and then we're going to let it out with a sigh. And the breathing out, the exhale, is going to be longer than the inhale or the holding. So we're going to do this maybe 3 or 5 times. It just depends on my mood of the day or how much stress I'm under. So here we go. I just noticed that first breath, it was all in the chest, nothing in the stomach. And I realized that it's okay. We're going to keep going. Another one. It's important to sigh, to do an audible sigh on the exhale. It just relaxes the body. There is some science behind it, but right now, I don't care. I don't remember. I'm just getting in my happy place. One more. I don't know about anybody else, but I can already feel heat building up in my face, on my forearms. I can already feel the heat building up. I've noticed that a few times where my body just gets hot. Back to normal breathing now. I'm not thinking, I'm looking at the third eye. If some of you don't know what that is, it's just looking in the center of your forehead. I'm trying to look right here, somewhere here. My eyes are closed, but I'm looking somewhere right here, where my tip of my forefinger, my index finger is. I hope it's in the right place, but right there is where I'm focusing, and my mind is clear right now. It's more clear than it usually is, but that's because I'm doing a live broadcast and I'm probably thinking about that, so it's not wandering all over the place. But I'm also noticing that I'm not connecting with that blankness behind the eyes like I normally do. I can almost feel it right there. Almost there. Okay, now I'm just thinking, going through my body, just sensing the body, the feelings. And sometimes the wrong words might come out. It's okay. Just connecting to the entire body, just looking for different feelings. I can feel energy build up in the chest. It's not heat, it's something else. I can still feel the heat on my face, my forearms. But this is something else. And I've sensed this before. It usually happens when I do my meditation sessions. My chest just gets filled up, and sometimes the whole body will jolt. Depends on how deep I am. And I connected to that blankness, and of course, as soon as I started talking, I lost it. But I wanted to relay to people what's going on the inside. I just felt this feeling. So when I first started, I started to say to myself that I love me, or I love myself. And that feeling that I used to get, I just got that feeling. In this moment, there is nothing that we need to do other than sit here with ourselves. We have everything we need in this moment. And if thoughts are coming, notice how the thoughts are either always in the past or in the future. That's just the brain doing what it's supposed to do. It was very helpful in ancient times for the brain to go into the future and figure out where the threats are. But right now in this moment, oh, there we go. When I said in this moment, I just came back to this moment. I just connected to the right place. And sometimes you will lose track of time. It's okay. Like people say, time is just an illusion. I don't know if it is or not. Sounds good. Yes. The blankness. A thought just came to me. It was in the chest area. It was just a feeling of I love life. Just I love life. So simple. We have everything we need in this moment. I can feel. Sometimes I like to think of thoughts like boats on a very deep lake. They're just adrift. They're just drifting. And right now, I'm beneath the surface of that lake, just drifting down. It's just dark, blank, and going deeper. I can feel my chest filling up with energy. It is expansive. I can feel it expanding. Joy, love, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes I have a hard time differentiating between joy and love. They're so intermingled for me. And my hands are resting on my knees. My index finger is touching my thumb. That's just my way of telling my body it's time for meditation. If you listen to music, I would suggest instrumental music, and I would suggest something that you don't listen to normally, and just keep it aside for meditations. That way, the body will become used to it. And every time you play that music, your body will know what to do, that it's time for meditation. When I first started, I started with some music, but very soon I get away with music. I just sit in the silence. Just connected so strongly with darkness behind my eyes. I can sense thoughts, but they're on the sidelines, like they're not in the forefront. They're on the side as just like sensory input from my body. There are thoughts. And my body is quiet. I can sense heat on the face, on the forearms, but everything else is quiet. No aches, no pains. In this moment, I have everything I need. In this moment, I'm enough. If you are having thoughts float by, just try to sit with the thoughts. Initially, when I used to have thoughts, a lot of them, I would try to pursue a thought, and it would just run away, almost like I chase it away. I can't believe it. The alarm is going off. It seems so soon. Maybe that's why they call it time is an illusion. It just went so fast. Whew. Oh. Okay, everybody. It's 12:46. I'm going to do my reflection. And one thing I'm going to say about my reflection, it's only 3 minutes, but those 3 minutes feel longer than these 15 minutes. These 15 minutes just go by so fast. The 3 minutes are going to take a lot longer. I hope everybody had a good time relaxing, getting to your center. getting in alignment, and hope everybody has a great rest of your day.